Two names, two legends, two men who were never supposed to be rivals, and yet, here we are. For years, when people talked about football's greatest feuds, one name came up again and again: Ronaldo versus Messi. That was the rivalry everyone knew, everyone expected, everyone was ready for. But somewhere along the way, quietly, without anyone really noticing at first, a different kind of tension started building. Not between Ronaldo and Messi, between Ronaldo and Neymar. And now, at the 2026 World Cup, that quiet tension has exploded into something the entire football world is talking about. So what actually happened? Why are two of the biggest stars on the planet suddenly at the center of this storm? And is it really a feud, or is it something else entirely? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what's going on, and you might even see these two icons in a completely different light. Let's rewind for a second. This World Cup was always going to be emotional. It was billed as the last dance, the final tournament for a golden generation of footballers who changed the sport forever. Cristiano Ronaldo, now on his 6th World Cup appearance, a feat no player had ever managed before. And Neymar, Brazil's all-time leading goal scorer, finally back on the biggest stage after years of battling injuries that many thought would end his international career for good. Two men, two countries, two very different journeys, but both walking into this tournament knowing, deep down, that this was probably it. The last time. The final chapter. And when something is billed as the last chapter, everything feels heavier. Every celebration means more. Every interview gets picked apart. Every glance, every gesture, every word gets analyzed by millions of fans looking for meaning. And that's exactly where this story begins. As the tournament rolled on, fans and journalists started noticing something. Little comments here, subtle jabs there. Nothing loud, nothing dramatic on the surface, but enough to make people start asking questions. Was there real tension between these two? Had something happened behind the scenes that the public didn't fully know about? Because here's the thing about Ronaldo and Neymar. Their relationship was never simple to begin with. They came from different footballing worlds. Ronaldo, the relentless machine, obsessed with numbers, records, discipline, precision. Neymar, the flair player, the showman, the one who grew up idolizing joy on the ball as much as winning with it. For years, they respected each other publicly, smiled for photos, said the right things in interviews. But underneath that polished surface, two very different personalities, two very different approaches to greatness, were always just a spark away from friction. And at this World Cup, that spark seemed to catch. Now here's where it gets interesting. Because when you actually dig into what happened, really dig into it, you find something surprising. There's no single explosive moment. No shouting match. No dramatic walk-off. What actually fueled this whole feud narrative was smaller than that. It was the emotional weight of two legends approaching the end, both eliminated from the tournament within days of each other, both giving raw, emotional final interviews, and fans and media connecting dots that may or may not have really been there. Neymar, visibly emotional after Brazil's exit, spoke about giving everything he had left in his body for his country. Ronaldo, after Portugal's own exit, made it clear that retirement wasn't a decision he was going to let anyone rush him into. Two proud men, both facing the same brutal reality at the same time, the end of an era, and both reacting to that pressure in their own way. But here's the question worth asking. Is this really a feud? Or is it something the internet built out of pure coincidence and timing? Because think about it. When two icons this big go through something this emotional, this public, at the exact same moment, people are going to compare them. They're going to pit them against each other. Fans pick sides. Clips get taken out of context. A tired answer in a press conference becomes a diss. A missed high five becomes beef. That's how football culture works in the social media age. Everything gets amplified. Everything gets a headline. And maybe that's exactly what happened here. Think about how many times this has played out before with other athletes. Two boxers who never said a bad word about each other suddenly get painted as bitter enemies because their fight got announced on the same weekend. Two singers who simply released albums close together suddenly get framed as rivals because fans need a story, a battle, a winner and a loser. It's not always real. Sometimes it's just the way we consume sports and celebrity culture now. Everything needs a villain, everything needs conflict, because conflict is what keeps people watching, keeps people clicking, keeps people talking. And two of the most famous athletes on the planet, going through the most emotional moments of their careers at the exact same time, was always going to be irresistible content for that machine. Still, you can't ignore the layers underneath. Because Ronaldo and Neymar's careers have quietly overlapped and collided for over a decade. They shared the same stage at Ballon d'Or ceremonies. They were both chased by the biggest clubs in the world. They both carried the weight of entire nations on their shoulders. And in a sport where legacy is everything, where being remembered as the greatest matters more than trophies sometimes, comparisons were always going to happen. Comparisons breed tension, even quiet tension, even tension neither man ever says out loud. So maybe it's not a feud in the traditional sense. Maybe it's something deeper. Two competitors, two proud warriors, who spent their entire careers being measured against each other, consciously or not, finally reaching the finish line at the same time, in the same tournament, under the same spotlight. And isn't that its own kind of rivalry? Not built on hatred, not built on drama, but built on two men who simply refuse to be anything less than the best, even when it means being compared endlessly to one another. And here's something else worth thinking about. Ronaldo has spent almost 2 decades being measured against one man, Messi. That comparison followed him everywhere, defined entire seasons of his career, shaped how the world talked about him even when he was scoring goals no one else in history had ever scored. So when a new name, a new challenger, even an unintentional one, suddenly enters that conversation, it's not hard to imagine why people assume friction. Ronaldo has never been the type to accept being second in any storyline. And Neymar, for his part, spent years being called the heir to greatness, the next great Brazilian icon, only to watch injuries and setbacks slow that narrative down again and again. Two men, both fighting to control their own legacy, both refusing to let anyone else write the ending of their story. That alone creates tension, even if neither man ever says a single unkind word about the other. Here's what makes this whole story even more emotional. Both of these players walked off the World Cup stage this year knowing, deep down, they might never play in one again. Neymar, after Brazil's heartbreaking exit, spoke about giving his heart for his country one final time. Ronaldo, still fighting, still refusing to fully close the door on his future, insisted he'll decide when his story ends, not the media, not the fans, not anyone else. Two very different ways of saying goodbye. Two very different personalities, right to the very end. And maybe that's the real story here. Not a feud, not a scandal, but a mirror. Two of the most driven athletes the sport has ever produced, both wrestling with the same impossible question every legend eventually faces: how do you let go of something you've given your entire life to? So the next time you see a headline calling this a feud, ask yourself, is it really anger? Or is it just two proud men, both staring down the end of an era, both refusing to fade quietly? Because sometimes what looks like rivalry from the outside is really just two people who understand each other better than anyone else ever could. Two men who pushed each other to be greater, whether they admit it or not. That, to me, is what makes this story so powerful. Not the drama, not the headlines, but the human side of it. The pressure, the pride, the fear of being forgotten, the desperation to leave one final mark on the game they've given everything to. Ronaldo and Neymar may never sit down and hug it out on camera. They may never publicly admit there was ever any tension at all. But if you strip away the noise, what you're really watching is two icons closing out their World Cup story in the only way they know how, with passion, with pride, and with a refusal to go quietly. So, what do you think? Was this really a feud brewing beneath the surface, or just the emotional weight of two legends saying goodbye at the same time? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story like this one. There's a lot more where this came from, so stick around, because the beautiful game always has another chapter waiting to be told. Thanks for watching.